Hello, everybody, and welcome to another roundtable discussion for the Glasgow Doctor Who Society. We're here to discuss today Survivors of the Flux and The Vanquishers. I have with me today Anthony.
Oh.
Paula.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hello.
Hello. We're going to do the usual formats we've done the past few times. Just going to give you your overall opinion of what you think of the story in a quick summary, and then we'll go into more discussion of each bit. So we'll start with Anthony this time. If you can give us a quick summary of what you thought of Survivors of the Flux, and then follow it with The Vanquishers.
Survivors of the Flux, I'm struggling to even remember a week later.
It's going to be like that, is it?
Yeah. I genuinely, I had watched it twice as well, and yeah, sometimes it's so dense that to decompress, to coin a phrase, is hard to do, and even you forget to decompress, and I think I forgot to decompress that episode. So, basically, it did feel like I'll get to with the finale, a very compressed episode of which should be more than an episode in its own right. For the finale itself, the same. Literally, I wasn't as thrilled as I thought I was going to be because it was so compressed with ideas, and seeing it in retrospect, it does feel like some of the ideas weren't as necessary as others. So I'll leave it there.
That sounds like one of the most compressed summaries we're going to get on this roundtable discussion today, but that's brilliant. Sean, can you expand on that a little bit? Can you decompress a bit more for us?
Well, with Survivors of the Flux, I think I liked that it kind of expanded and there was a few surprises here, and but I felt it did leave more questions unanswered than answered. And with the Vanquishers, I felt like there's still, I think they were going to cover stuff, but I think they're going to wait for the next episodes coming up. So with that, I enjoyed them, but I felt it just left me wanting more, to be honest.
Yeah, I suddenly, as I sat down to think about Survivors of the Flux, I'm suddenly thinking, I don't remember all of it, and yeah, that's worrying. That may just be my brain. I don't know, but I think on the whole, across it all, it just feels sometimes it has been a bit overall, let's cram in some more characters, and it feels like it was slightly bursting at the seams. So yeah, Survivors of the Flux that's with the Ood, and the ending was the fob watch. Yeah. Aha. Yeah, I enjoyed them. I think they could have been better. I think that's probably going to be my overall series review for the whole thing. Is I've enjoyed it, but it could have been better. Yeah. I liked seeing it again. That was good. I enjoyed that. I like the fact that they just changed sides. Where they're just like, all right, you seem quite nice. I'm going to help you instead. And yeah, fob watches, always interesting to see a fob watch. This is not helping, really, is it? My review is quite limited of certainly the first one. Yeah, and then the finale, I enjoyed it. I just felt there was a lot to resolve and maybe not quite enough time to do it. It felt like we've kind of squashed it all in to 6 episodes, and it maybe could have done with a little bit more breathing room or less characters, maybe. Less characters, perhaps, because I feel like some of them kind of have been introduced quite late, and then not really a lot of explaining done as to what's going on with them. I'm the former dictator of whatever, and you're like, well, where were you the dictator of? What's going on? I don't know. So yeah, that maybe is my review. It's all a bit short of room, big in characters, and also we maybe needed a bit more of the explaining, perhaps.
My overall thing is, you're right. There's a lot of things happened in these 2 episodes. There were things that resolved themselves, things that were interesting. I mean, finally we got to find out what the hell Williamson was doing across all the tunnels. I don't know what the hell the Grand Serpent's all about. Still don't know what the Grand Serpent's all about. This is over both episodes. It was quite a pointless enemy to me, and he was stuck in a rock at the end. It's kind of, well, what? Belle and Vinda, it's nice they met up. A bit frustrating how Vinda missed her by a couple of minutes because Carvanista decided to recall the Lupari ship at the wrong time. So I have a funny feeling, and it was confirmed, that he was in there to find Belle in the passenger, and it wasn't. He didn't find Belle. He found Diane instead. I actually quite like the episode Survivors of the Flux for the team of Jericho, Yaz, and Dan. I think their adventures around the Earth was kind of around the Earth in 80 days a little bit. And my God, does the Hermit not remind you of a certain Glasgow Doctor Who Society member or not?
Yeah, I think that was the variety of discussion on yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it had been Rintu, though, it would have been even more obtuse.
Yes.
Yeah, it was my first thought when I saw the Hermit was yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, what has Rintu been doing with these days off?
I know. And then we get into the Vanquishers itself, and the Doctor being split 3 ways was a nice way of trying to tie up a lot of loose ends very quickly. Although I don't think all the loose ends were tied up. And this whole thing about the Doctor trying to find out herself, and then she says, "Right, I'll just stick the fob watch right into the bowels of the TARDIS at the end." That didn't kind of make sense to me. I didn't quite get that. I thought maybe she would have maybe had a peek or something, but no, she decided not to. But maybe it is Long Barrow, the house that's there in Survivors of the Flux, or the Vanquishers. Maybe it is Long Barrow that we're talking about here. It just happens to be all our memories. You never know. I'm saying that for Anthony's purposes because he mentioned that earlier in other videos. The funniest bit of the Vanquishers has to be the chocolate in the corner shop. Oh my God, what hilarity that is with the Sontaran and all the chocolate he loves. Nobody got that, but never mind.
You know what? No, I did. To be fair, my favourite line was the bit about when he was shouting for when Dan was shouting for Carvanista, and he's asking him if he wants a biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my least favourite lines.
Oh really? I loved it. I just love the whole plot, the whole idea of the dog thing.
I too would have if it didn't come on the cusp of genocide. Like the sheer hard cut of doing that and then going to the next shot of him looking sad because his whole race died. I was like, pick your moments, Dan. Maybe when it was all, nice and hearty earlier, that would have been a nice moment. But
yeah, I guess. I think though Liverpool people tend to have that sense of humour of making, a joke at something that's I think it was still funny.
Yeah, it was still a good. It was the timing of it that made me go.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, no, I clearly forgot about the whole from last week. I forgot that I did love the sort of 80 days around the world vibe of Eustachius, Yaz, and Dan traveling together. That was actually the best bit about the Survivors of the Flux episode. The fact that they'd been basically tootling about the world for 3 years. Big finish, ahoy! I have to say, there are so many things in this series in total that Big Finish could just run with at some point. Carvanista and all the fellow Lupari, the adventures of that village as well. People within that village, Claire and having a weeping angel still on her mind. All these things Big Finish could really properly. Nick Briggs would be sitting in the house like, write this down.
I thought with the exploration-y stuff in Survivors of the Flux was very good, but it felt like it missed an open goal when it came to all the Williamson tunnel stuff. I felt could have done that in the same vein and would have tied into that plot thread a bit more. Of the exploring of different realms to find, I don't really know what they were finding really. Was it that it was the 5th of December 2021 that the world was meant to end was their main
Yeah.
goal.
I think so.
Yeah, it seemed, I wasn't quite sure what they were up to with that. But they do eventually get to the Williamson tunnels, and I thought they could have just got to that quicker and then had many explorations of those tunnels with Williamson, because that would have been a quite fun concept for a while, instead of going to various places that I'd have no idea how they're affording unless they sold that wee girl to slavery or whatever. I don't know how. What happened to her? What happened to the wee? What was her name?
She grew up to be the old lady.
How?
That's not the gist of it. I don't know. Unit adopted her. Who knows?
We had that discussion in the last
Yes.
last chat. We were talking
Yeah.
about how she's named near Daenerys Hayman's name and things like that.
Yeah, but like, but how? She was she was the only one left in that time, and you'd think she would buy.
Yeah, they just walked away. Yeah, they just went, all right, there's a small girl. Let's leave her on her own.
It's 1901. Sure, that's what you do.
They sent her up a chimney. That's what they did with her. She started going up chimneys. She was like a housemaid. Who knows? She became part of unit. Who knows
Yeah,
what the deal is?
Hopefully, but yes, I was surprised at the lack of her and how enough they funded such exploratory missions. Around not quite a solid reason.
I got the impression that they maybe found things or stole things and sold them, but that may have just been me. I don't know.
Well, we introduced them by tomb robbing, don't we? So that possibility they could be taking all the relics and selling them on to help finance their journeys.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was some place to put your sign for getting help through time, not on the actual wall of China, which is quite long enough to get your message across if you did it just in one way, but instead amongst a wee grassy knoll beside the wall of China, which could get overgrown and not be seen in 120.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it didn't make sense, that, to be honest. And to be fair, it all kind of just was for a joke anyway, because the caravanist was like, yeah, I don't have time travel. Why does he think I have time travel? I can't go and get him. But then it turned out that's wasn't what it was about anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then it was about the Williamson tunnels, and just cut to that.
Yes,
the of the Flux instead of all this malarkey of it.
There was a lot of malarkey generally, to be fair, this season. Malarkey is a good word, to be fair, and that does describe what happened. I think for me, ultimately, it just came down to there was a lot of good ideas there. The execution just wasn't quite as it could be. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it, but mostly what I felt, particularly during the last episode, was the ideas are really good. This could have been a lot better. And that is kind of how I feel about Chibnall's writing generally. He's just not quite, he just can't quite get it there. It's like in Broadchurch, if you've ever seen Broadchurch, which probably a lot of people who follow have, you do spend the whole time with looking at David Tennant policeman and Olivia Colman policewoman going, how are they keeping their jobs? They're terrible at their jobs. They cannot. He's a terrible policeman. He's got a heart problem. It makes no sense. And they completely miss clues. And then like Eve Mells leads them astray. And it's all, yeah. That's exactly what I felt like with this. It's kind of like, yeah, it gets there, but as ever, lots of red herrings, which I think he likes as well. He likes throwing in characters here and there and go, we'll make you think these people are important, and then they turn out they're nothing important. Like Bell and Vinder. You know, there was a lot of people speculating online that Bell and Vinder were actually the Doctor's parents, and all sorts of wacky rumours like that. And ultimately, they were nothing like that. And I kind of feel like we could have cut the whole Bell and Vinder and the Grand Serpent storyline out, taken it out, and it would have made no difference to the whole thing.
There was a shot
there anyway.
There was a shot in the TARDIS near the end of The Vanquishers. I'm just jumping around everywhere like the Flux.
Yeah.
Where
This is going to be one of these episodes, to be fair.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Sean's still to put his 2 penny in, and I'm sure he's got a lot
Yeah,
of malarkey
sorry.
coming as well. But there we are.
But there was a shot in the TARDIS of everyone, and I went, half of yous don't need to be here because half of yous are just standing around. Literally, it felt like you had to prod them with dialogue or something and it wasn't even dialogue. It was like crib sheet notes on the plot for a character to do something. Like that's what Kate Stewart was there for most of the time. But like the shot was like there was like Belle and Vinder, Claire, and Diane, and Jericho, and Carbonista. I think this is the biggest TARDIS, let alone Stolen Earth. Like this was the biggest amount of folk we've had in the TARDIS, and they didn't feel unique in any way. They all just felt it was blocked there, and didn't feel like they were doing anything that individualistic in the same way that you might have had when Stolen Earth had that for each and every strand of all these people. And that TARDIS felt earned.
I think that's quite a good comparison, Stolen Earth and that, because you felt like it's the same idea, lots of little stories building up to everybody meeting up in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And it just didn't feel like it came off quite as well.
Yeah, I mean, Kate Stewart wasn't even in the TARDIS. I just couldn't remember if she was or not. And I had to rewatch and go, oh, she's not. Because she was just
they left her behind
in the tunnels doing nothing.
I mean, Kate Stewart would have worked for me if she just turned up in the 6th episode saying I've been undercover for a while because of the Sontaran situation and everything else.
She could have been with Williamson. She could have been cutting around the tunnels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that would
have taken the Grand Serpent out of the whole thing, and Kate could still be included. I suppose that's one way of looking at it.
There was some chat online is that maybe it wasn't supposed to be Kate Stewart in the first place. Maybe it was supposed to be Jack Harkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is possible, but who knows? Who knows?
To be fair, Chibnall had to get Kate Stewart in at some point because effectively he wrote her initially because it was Power 3 she turned up in that episode. So I suppose he had to have lip service for all the characters he created and who at some point. He's done Jax, I suppose, because he was the exec producer in series 2 of Torchwood, so he knows a lot about Jack and obviously Kate because he effectively created the character Kate Stewart, obviously under Stephen Moffat's guidance. But
yeah, I think the reason why they thought it was because there was supposed to be a tie-in graphic novel that was supposed to come out around about now with Captain Jack in it. And when they pulled that and they pulled some of Torchwood on Big Finish as to whether he was maybe somewhere else, who knows?
Who knows? I'd like to come to Sean, if I may, just to give him a chance to give some of his plot points he's been meticulously researching for this. Just any things you want to talk about with us?
I'll go with Survivors of the Flux. The whole Grand Serpent infiltrating unit thing, that felt very Marvel to me. Like, I don't know if Chibnall was watching Captain America the Winter Soldier, but literally that bit felt beat for beat, felt like the whole Hydra infiltrating SHIELD plot line. Like, on it, if you take that out, the episode would still be fine, nothing would have changed. But I don't know if they put that in to make it feel like Marvel or just to add a bit of spy intrigue. But I just felt like, I don't know why this is here. It feels very samey. Yeah, we get to see Kate Stewart, but this is very Captain America. What's going on here? And then with the Vanquishers, the Doctor literally just killed 3 of her biggest enemies in like in the space of like 10 seconds, and I don't know how to feel about that.
Well, we know the Daleks survived because they're in the next episode, but apart from that,
well, I mean, the scene where they're deliberating on this quandary for like 5 seconds when Kate's like, but surely you're not going to let the Sontarans kill the Daleks and Cybermen. And the Doctor goes, no, I've got a more riskier plan. And the plan is, instead of killing 2 races, I'm killing 3. And it's just literally moving the fence, the safety fence for who was safe to just another race to be killed. That's a whole thing that I'm not even going to go into about how the Doctor somehow is the most reactionary Doctor I think we've had under Chibnall has been this Doctor. So it's not something I'm a fan of.
Yeah, it's kind of that just that whole thing of the Doctor does do things like that, but it's that whole Genesis of the Dalek speech. Do I have the right? The wires together, and we're not gonna. I can't. Can I stop this species from existing? Do I have the right to do that? And it's like, well, and then she just goes, well, sod it. I'm just gonna kill them all, and it seems a bit much. On a positive note, I did like the idea of a multi-Doctor story that just involved one incarnation of the Doctor. That was pretty good. It kind of made me think of like some of the other multi-Doctor stories, and just like, because there's always a bit of kind of argy-bargy, and then she's just kind of like, I think you're cute. I think you're cute too. It kind of just, that was quite an interesting way of kind of sorting things out, is just putting lots of different Doctors, which are all the same Doctor. Because ultimately it's the same person, ultimately.
Yeah.
All the way through. So it's not really that much different. But yeah, that did quite tickle me.
It is a plot contrivance, but an interesting plot contrivance.
Yeah, that was kind of one of his better ideas, definitely. One thing that did bother me slightly is the TARDIS just sorted itself.
It still had cobwebs in that in the background at one point. I think it's still a bit bitty.
Just didn't last anymore because he forgot.
But it didn't have like a door in the floor and like.
No, it had. When Carvanista was sad because someone displayed emotion in this episode for one scene. He sat down on like a wee edge of the police box inside the TARDIS.
Did he?
But it seemed more cleaner later on when they were having nice scenes at the end. But yeah, I know what you mean. It doesn't seem as dirty as it did, but it's still there. It's just not as
prominent as it was.
Remembered.
Yeah, and what about the kind of at the end where she decides to put the fob watch away and she just lifts up a globe and there's a tunnel going down? Where does that go? I mean, is this just a place that she puts stuff? If she kind of wants to, like, TARDIS, just look after this for me for later, lift it up. Yeah. Is it where the biscuits live? Who knows?
It's probably partly where the Crusted Creams live, yes. It's probably where they come from.
Well, yeah. But
maybe that's where Dan went, because there was, Dan was walking up the stairs at that scene as well, to go to find the living room or bedroom, whatever. And the Doctor shouts for Yaz, and Yaz turns around, and Dan's suddenly not there. Maybe Dan, that's not a shipping I want, but Dan, that's where that thing from the trailer where he was going down that chute. He's going down that chute. He just went down the wrong chute and somehow is still falling down the chute. So maybe that's where he goes. It's Dan's room. Dan becomes a pre-Hartnell Doctor. When he finds the Bob watch when it clunks him in the head.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it. Maybe he gets to the bedroom and then the fob watch hits him in the head, and he could just open it and he goes, "Oh my god!"
Becomes evil Dan.
I suppose the thing with the fob watch is you're left kind of not knowing what's in it.
Now,
whether he did that just because he was like, I don't really want to open this can of worms of where does Ruth Doctor fit in.
I mean, I like the idea of this Higgledy Piggledy house, just like the showman.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that to me kind of makes me think a bit more about how things are. The Doctor's just kind of like, it's just a very complex thing in there and nobody really knows. But yeah, it kind of made me a bit sad how much they've kind of wasted Barbara Flynn, because I thought she would have been in it more.
Yeah,
Mm.
Taeyoon,
than she
they build it all.
was.
They build it all up, and then all of a sudden she gets disintegrated at the end of the fifth of Survivors of the Flux.
Yeah, and we're not even addressing the fact that she looked like the White Guardian. It's like,
Yeah, she's just been a shaded, like the same for when a shad had that in season 12, where he was just shrinking.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, is that it? He's not. Nothing's coming from it. Yeah, that was a bit disappointing.
Well, yeah, going back, to that sort of time, there was the whole thing about the red-headed boy in the Gallifrey or whatever, Ireland, whatever it was. That's never been explained, other than it maybe with some memories or something, or maybe some false memories. Nobody really knows. And it's all a bit, yeah. I was sure Chris Chibnall is not doing like drugs when he's writing these or something. He just kind of has a bit of a moment to himself and goes, they'll believe anything.
He just has like lucid moments of any character. He just goes character time. Just instead, when he can't think of a plot, he just makes a new character because he just loves to have random characters that aren't. Who is the guy? The guy who's like when the Grand Serpent does mad like thing about trying to find Kate Stewart, and he's just talking to a random Scouse lad going, "Oh, you in the train station here? Do you know what Kate Stewart is?" And you're like, "Why are you asking this guy? Who is this guy?" And it's just
It was a bit odd, yeah.
There's characters like that all over the place, and yet he can't commit to them. He can't commit to those characters at least interacting and having relations properly with other characters. In the broader term, like when I think of Jericho, he was a good character. I enjoyed who he was, but his relation to others who he has relations with, like the only reaction we got to his death was Yaz going, "Jericho," and you're like, "You've spent 3 years with him, like in the 1900s. Why are you not feeling anything about this?"
But I think that's the problem with having too many characters, is you don't get the chance to build it up. I think that was my main issue, is the whole it could have been better. It would have been better with less characters. Claire would have been an interesting character more so if we'd kind of got, because still at the end she was kind of giving funny looks and stuff like that. And at the end, I was kind of like at a point where, when the Doctor does that thing with the fob watch and she's having the whole emotional moment with Yaz, totally missed opportunity to have a surprise regeneration at that point. He could have pulled it off. If anyone could have pulled off a surprise regeneration, Chibnall could, because he's the sort of person who can basically, I don't know what he has in people that he can stop them leaking stuff, but he seems to be able to keep stuff under his hat a lot better than other people. They totally could have done a surprise regeneration there, and it's missed.
I mean,
and it could have been done, and it just
a lot of parts in this series, like when I was thinking the Doctor was regenerating when they turned into stone, and things like that. But no, like that's the thing. Like people like Claire, people like Jericho, I don't think he understands how to form these relations and their pegging order in something like this. Like the amount of stuff we were getting about Vinder, as if Vinder was going to be this new swashbuckling heel that we're all going to care about. When I'm like, Eustachius Jericho is my man. He is the guy of the season. Claire is really cool, and I want more of her. She is the new psychic advisor to Unit, sure, whatever.
Absolutely.
Like all of this, and they were not even mentioned until you saw them basically in the series.
I know. It's a bit weird and strange. I was going to quickly go back to one thing about Tectoon very quickly. We were all saying who on earth was she when we were talking about her first appearance in Once Upon a Time, and the hat was always on her back, and that's the hat that's the same hat I believe that the Tectoon character in the background story that Master tells is wearing when she's traveling as well. So that was maybe the clue to who she was if you were very careful thinking about it. The wide brim hat she has on her back. No,
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah. I don't think anybody did. That was the thing. I
No.
think it was just me, but
yeah, that's what I always feel about the Chibnall stuff. He's trying to be really clever, but he can't quite get there. It just felt like we could have taken out quite a lot of the characters and we would have had more time for some of the other characters, and it would have been better.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Really
the time,
great ideas, but it
Mhm.
just could have been better.
even the ideas themselves, a lot of the time was spent for all these characters to explain those ideas and plots, and it just didn't gel in the same way that you'd want these characters to be actually talking. Like the one time I felt the 13th Doctor was quite alive and vibrant was that interrogation scene where they're just bouncing off. They're not explaining expansionary dialogue. They're not having, plots just like prodded out, like Kate Stewart was.
Mhm.
It was just a scene of her deciphering who this guy was. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is, what the Doctor would be up to in this style of character. But we're missing lots of moments like that. Yas sometimes teetered on that, but never quite got there. And everyone else was just there to explain scenarios. Like the whole thing with Diane. Diane was just, she was way more knowledgeable than she ought to have been for a lot of the scenarios when she was in Prisoner, Passenger, where she's saying, oh, I know that this hole here is like incumbent upon your escape, and I know the escape can happen when you shoot this somehow, and I know that when you go through this barrier you end up in this thing, and you're like, this is
Yeah.
stretch.
It's like interchangeable lines. It's almost like some of the lines, it's like they went, all right, we've not got quite enough people in this, so we're going to bring some other characters in and we'll just divide everybody's lines up, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it doesn't make sense that they would know that. I feel the Grand Serpent, Belle and Vinder, and Diane could have all been taken out of it, and it would have been much better.
It would have worked, yeah. I think you're right.
And that's a shame. And that's the thing, that there's been so many good points, and there's been lots of things that I've really enjoyed about Flux. Carvanista is my favourite, I have to say. It's just been a really good performance as well. And the Doctor has been a lot more kind of standing up for herself and just kind of better generally. You feel like she's actually, that Jodie's kind of getting into the role, hitting her stride. But again, it's just held back by these other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You try not to be critical, but
Mhm.
you do get just after it, you just think, yeah, I enjoyed it, but, and it's those little things that
she's still like written quite reactionary and quite not as, I don't say compassionate, because that feels like she's not compassionate, but she still can be. But things like when they're in their cell with Carvanista and he's talking about how it would kill him to tell anything about the past, and later on you'd think, she might actually help him and take the thing out somehow or whatever. Doesn't. She just goes, well, to that, and just leaves him with a thing in his mind. And you'd feel maybe she would have tried to have helped him.
Yeah, I'd like to see Jodie's Doctor written by someone else.
Yes.
And see what happens, because I feel that she's got the real potential to be a good Doctor. And I think she is a good Doctor in a lot of ways. There's been episodes that have blown me away during her whole run, but ultimately I think what's let her down is the writing. Not all the writing, some of the writing, and some of the way she's written is a bit more like, you do the thing, yes, I will do the thing, yes, you do the thing, here I am to explain a plot point. It's all a bit like that.
It is a bit like that, yeah. Sorry, I need to get our fourth member in this conversation just a little bit, guys. I'm sorry. So, Sean is listening like a lovely, lovely viewer, but he's here to chat and talk as well. So I'd like to get him in just a little bit. So your first plot point about unit dating and the Grand Serpent has been mentioned. What other points do you have?
I don't know. This isn't a plot point necessarily. I just feel like is Chibnall going, screw you, Tuz. The hermit character, I love him, but the fact that he keeps going, I'm teasing. I felt like that's just been Chibnall through his whole run. Everything he does is just, oh, I'm teasing, and especially with like the last episode, we thought a lot of things were going to happen. Berlin Vendor turned out to be nothing. He might as well have just the Hermit character may have just came at the end of the episode, looked straight at the camera and went, "Oh, I'm teasing," and then that should have just ended that episode. Like, honestly.
I've got an idea now for a parody Doctor Who video now. Basically, the Hermit coming up saying, "I'm teasing when the plot point doesn't make sense."
That's the only way to explain this whole thing. That was just Chibnall himself saying, "Oh, I'm teasing you all." And then the bit in the Vanquishers with the chocolate shop, well, the corner shop. I love that, but at the same time, does that mean Centaurs are now scared of chocolate, or
no? They're chocoholics. They're now chocoholics.
Well, that just makes them more relatable to me.
I think Dan Starkey was the best Centaur. I can't see Jonathan Watson playing that part of that Centaur in that shop. It had to be Dan Starkey, and it's come across brilliantly, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if there was some sort of feeling of like subliminal, like anti-Scottishness. If they had Jonathan Watson's doing this scene of a Scottish guy hoarding chocolate, being like stingy with giving out anything else to anyone. So yeah,
No,
but I enjoyed Jonathan Watson more in this one than in the other one. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I just like the idea of Jonathan Watson Centaur being in there and scanning all the caramel wafers and Tunnet's tea cakes that were actually obviously in the shop and leaving all the other chocolate. That would have been quite funny, actually. But
yeah, it would have been something.
Oh, they're men.
Yeah.
Talking of the Centaurans, how
How the Centaurans generally, or
how did this happen? When did they start this invasion? How long did they invade for? How long was this Earth resistance around for this invasion? Because it's not the same invasion as the second episode invasion. This is another invasion on Earth.
Yeah, that wasn't clear. To be honest. I'd kind of forgot that wasn't the same invasion. I thought it was the same invasion.
No, because they scarpered in the last invasion, like 5 episodes ago, did they not?
Did they? I thought they scarpered from the Crimea.
No, they left Liverpool.
It wasn't the same Centauran that Jonathan Watson was playing. It wasn't Skak. It was a different one. So
they left Liverpool, I remember.
Yeah.
And everything went back to normal.
Clearly
they went to the museum and everything. There was no Centauran guiding them around about Centaur history for Liverpool. Oh, a Scouse Centauran. They should have done that for that scene.
Yeah, clearly that wasn't a very clear part of the story because I have no recollection of that.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt, again, we're thinking about surprisingly plot points from previous season finales, like with Stolen Earth and all the collected people coming together thing with the Earth Resistance, like Martha Jones and Sound of the Drums and all this, where that had a whole time for her to do that, but we just got Katie Stewart going, "Yep, I've been Earth Resistant for some reason for none amount of time that we gave." So
yeah, and on her own, because she'd already told Osgood in the previous episode, "I'm going dark."
Yeah, it's just her and that Scouse lad in the train station, and that's it. Saving the Earth.
Scouse Underground. To be fair, Subversive and all that is probably quite good up there, but yeah, there was aspects of it just didn't make a huge amount of sense. And you just have to kind of do that thing of, I'm just going to suspend disbelief because, after all, I am watching a program about a man or woman or whatever traveling in a box that's bigger on the inside than the outside. I kind of have to just go,
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to. I see people getting themselves really kind of het up about it on the internet, and I'm thinking, yeah, you probably get some good points there, but ultimately, you're watching a program about an alien who travels with 2 hearts, who travels through space and time in a box that's bigger on the inside than the outside, and randomly just collects people and has the screwdriver that's sonic that seems to do an unending amount of things.
Increasing by the episodes under Chibnall.
And who knows what it does? It just kind of goes and that, scans things. At that point, the sort of plot holes have to be kind of like, well,
Well,
that's kind of that's the way I get through it. I have to say, I just kind of go, yeah, I accept that was not the best kind of storyline ever, but there was enough of it that I really enjoyed. That I was kind of like, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of take your brain out stuff in this. It's not much you can really think about if you hurt your brain otherwise.
Exactly.
Vanquishers. Anything on the Vanquishers, Sean? Apart from the chocolate shop.
Did they explain why the Sontarans and the Grand Serpent were working together? Because that just happened to me. Like, I don't know if I missed them explaining it.
No,
but
I don't think so. Anyway,
I'm not surprised. I'm just so confused. Like, oh, okay, they're working together now, but surely one of them will going to double cross each other, or they'll both just try and double cross each other at the same time.
Yeah, I would have thought so, to be honest. The Rutans did get a shout out though.
Yeah, they
mentioned the Rutans.
Yeah. I think there might have been an unwritten plot about that with the crossover, like double crossing. Like, remember when the Grand Serpent decidedly made unit to then aim all the weapons to the earth?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was to then kill all the Sontarans, I guess, after Flux, and then just move it off wherever. I don't know. But
the only thing is maybe they'll explain the Grand Serpent a bit better later, because there was quite a lot of chat online about people suggesting he was the Master and all that sort of stuff, and based on, I think from what I can tell, the fact that the Master in the TV movie had a snake.
It's a pre-Eric Roberts Master.
Yes.
It's all.
Yeah.
That's the origin story for the snake.
Yeah, it did seem quite kind of stretching it, but then that might explain it a bit better, because we've got no explanation as to who the Grand Serpent was at all, which I think is a bit of a shame, because Craig Parkinson, he did the characters really good and was in Line of Duty and was phenomenal in Line of Duty, and it kind of felt like he got a kind of crappy end of the stick.
I mean, it was a good. I mean, all the acting was good for what they got. It's just some of them didn't get much, and when they did get something, it was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? What? How do you know that? There's a lot of whys, whats, and whos. I can imagine one of our colleagues, Mr. David Cherry, being on here, and all we get is just expressions of confusion from him all the way through. I think with these episodes, it was one of those ones.
I can't imagine watching this with Cherry.
Right, any other points or anything on here? It looks like we've kind of covered most of it in a kind of more general way this time round, because there's not really things that stand out 100%, is there?
Yeah, it was kind of like the end of the bit when Swarm and Azure went to
Time
and met up with Time on the place that sort of looked like the place that the Doctor was found by Tecteun. And then it was just like, I don't really care. You failed me, turn you into atoms, and then I'm going to split off now.
Well, the conversation
I don't understand.
Yeah, well, the conversation, I don't understand either, but the conversation between Azure and the Doctor about how their world views differ was an interesting little back and forth between them. So there are good bits in here in regards to the scripting, and that I think is one of them. The discussion that Azure has about the fact that her faith in destruction and the Doctor's faith is in everybody living and having lives.
Yeah, there were scenes that were good like that. But then, yeah, it's just, it gets muddied. These waters were muddied by everything. And when you think of it, there are nice little scenes like that, like the Grand Serpent interrogation. Like, there are stuff that I can find to be enjoyable. But, yeah, it's just clustered.
It's kind of like superficially, it kind of flows along, and there's some really good bits. And then, but if you try to kind of look at it too closely, it all sort of, it's like a slightly shaky chair. You know, after a while, it's like, it's gonna end you with arse on the floor. You know, you can sit in it for a bit, it's comfortable enough, but eventually you're just gonna, what happened there? Because
Yeah.
I'm full of analogies tonight, me.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what I'm going to be, and I've got a feeling, and I'm hoping that it's going to happen in that way when it comes to what we would be getting for Jodie Whittaker next. So we've got, what, 2 episodes? The New
Yeah.
Year's Day, no, 3, Easter and October.
Yeah, New Year, Easter, and October. New Year, spring, and October. We don't.
Oh,
know if it's
right.
Easter or
I
not.
thought it was just 2, but
No,
so that's
it's
nice.
3. So you got either the Daleks on New Year's Day. You've got one in the
Mhm.
spring, and then you got what they call the the BBC Centenary Special.
Yeah, I mean, if they've not filmed the regeneration, which they haven't, I'm feeling that Jodie Whittaker is going to be in the 60th, and I'm looking forward to that more because it will be a different way of her being written.
She has said though she's filmed her last scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But
they have
then do we
I
go
think
back to the whole Moffat lies? Chibnall lies as well. Everyone lies. And I'm okay with that. But let's be clear. I'm okay with that. I want to be surprised by things.
I'm not saying that they're just going to not have a regeneration or anything like that. I think they will have a regeneration happen, but nothing. It's almost like the one for Stolen Earth or whatever it was. And something will happen. There will be the new Doctor there in the 60th, but Jodie's still there for a while, going, "How am I still around?" or something. And we'd be able, hopefully, to just see her again, because it would feel hard to bring her back so close to her finishing just literally her episode there. But equally, it'd be really hard to have a new Doctor hold like a 60th anniversary special.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be some sort of bridging happening there, and I think ideally they would do that so we can actually have Jodie just written a bit more concisely and actually like a character.
Yeah.
Well, please God, let Russell T Davies write for Jodie. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's
I'd
my
like
main reason for it as well.
I'd like that.
That would be lovely. Just a thought in regards to generation. You got it's only been 2 times in the revived series where the actors have actually changed the guard on the same day, which is Tennant to Smith and Smith to Capaldi. As far as I understand, the Capaldi regeneration to Jodie Whittaker was filmed a few weeks apart, and obviously the Eccleston to David Tennant was filmed a few weeks apart. So it could be quite feasible that Jodie's done her bit up with her arms in the air, and they're just going to mold the other one in.
That implies that that's what they're going to do as well.
Yeah.
You know, Chibnall, who knows?
And I would go with that, but they have dismantled the TARDIS set. There would be no way to have done like a TARDIS regeneration unless they rebuild this new set for it.
Unless they've cast the Doctor already and we don't know it yet.
Well, they've said they've not even they've not cast. I think someone said so they've not done that, and they've dismantled what would have been the chamber to do the regeneration in. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Maybe she doesn't regenerate in the TARDIS. Maybe she regenerates in another location.
That would be nice. That would be different.
I would still love to see a surprise regeneration. I don't know how you would pull off in these times of. You'd have to have like 4 folk on the set or whatever. But that would be something for like just all times.
I mean, he can if he's in the Rift Doctor, and that
exactly.
Exterior shots as well. So I mean, anything can happen.
Anything could happen.
Absolutely.
Sean, any final thoughts on the 2 episodes?
Honestly, like we're good, but I did want more, and also I feel like out of these 2 episodes, whoever makes the evil Dan names will have a lot of content, especially with his bad timing in the last episode with what he said to Carvanista, and the 13 and Yaz were having a great moment, and then he just comes in, where's my room again?
That's a frying pan moment if ever there was one.
And my last words on my thoughts will be, I'm teasing.
Speaking of teasing, Anthony, your final thoughts?
I want the Evil Dan meme to get the walk pan, and at the point where the Flux is about to strike that Sontaran that's about to kill Jericho, you'd be like, what's the point of being alive, like? And just whack that Sontaran into the Flux. That's my final thought. That I just want that, and I'll be a bit more happy about it overall.
Paula?
I just want Carvanista to come back again, or like one of his. I know his race have supposedly been destroyed, but that's a great race, Lupari. I know it's not really practical, a Lupari companion, but that would be good.
Yeah, but you got time travel, so I suppose it's possible you could go back into the history of the Lupari.
It's true. Yeah, and Doctor and Yaz were clearly having a bit of a moment. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not sure that's going to happen on a BBC allegedly children's programme, but clearly they had a moment to themselves of there was definite tension there, which Dan kind of interrupted. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but that's kind of really sums up, I think, the Flux in general.
Yeah,
it could have been better.
Absolutely. I think the serialized format is going to work if it's written correctly. I think Flux has shown that it's got life in it. I just think it needed a couple more episodes to flesh out some of the bits, because I think 4 and 2 were perfectly set up. 1 obviously was the introduction. 3 was kind of a load of exposition, which could have been done over an episode and a half. And 5 and 6 should have had at least another episode each to flesh out some of the points, and it might have actually worked as an 8 or 9 parts serial instead of a 6. I think they were trying to do too much for lack of time, and I think that's the thing. But it certainly proves that serialized stories can work in the longer format for Doctor Who. I think it is a good idea, and I think it's probably the way to go.
Do you think Russell T Davies will do it? Do you think he will continue this idea?
I think he might actually. I think he might go down that route. Although I don't think he'll do as long as serials. I think he'll do something maybe in 3 or 4 episode formats, but make sure it's only 3 or 4 characters, not 50,000. You know, but
and people will actually relate to each other and show emotion and like sympathize with each other.
Mm-hmm. That'd
be nice.
That would be nice.
Show some kind of thought and care for each other. That'd probably be better. Yeah. I don't know. Well, Children of Earth was kind of one story across.
It was one story, but it was only a few characters, and it worked.
Yeah,
because it was spread over with a few characters. He didn't have 10 or 12 ensemble cast.
It was a set threat as well. It wasn't this literally destructing, which is still destroyed the universe. Half of it's still destroyed. If you have something as an arcing few episodes story, and it's not like that, if it's something just more, not mundane, but more set in these characters, set in a contained world. I mean, I think next episode, The Eve of the Daleks, is a good model of a contained episode, and it's threat. If you want to do that over an extended story arc of a few things, like Children of Earth, then I think that's maybe the way forward than literally the whole destruction of the universe.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I suppose that the thing we have to say about Russell T Davies is we know he can do kind of secret themes across episodes and all that sort of stuff, because I mean, he did Bad Wolf.
He set up the whole overarching mystery box setup that we've had.
Exactly. So, and he's had a few more years of writing to
hone his craft a bit more. Yeah.
To hone it. So yeah. That's my feeling, is that I could see him doing the whole serialized format.
Yeah, it's been done well before. I mean, I don't want to mention Long Barrow, and I won't, because I'll be mentioning Cat Cradle and Time Worm instead.
I was going to say Looms. We didn't get Looms. I know you're disappointed.
Yeah. Maybe there is one inside, like Joe Martin's just like got a big actual physical loom, and they'll do like a visual like reference maybe when they do go into that house. But
I get the feel you like Paul Cornell, Mark Platt's scripts. You love his stuff. You love their stuff.
I do. I really do. Time Worm, is it Time Worm Genesis is Paul Cornell's one.
Oh
Which-
no, that's Revelation as Paul Cornell.
Revelation, but I've got them here.
Oh dear, here we go. Geeky stuff.
I think it's Time Worm Genesis. No, Exodus. No,
Exodus.
that's 10 sticks one, is it not?
And yeah, Human Nature was Paul Cornell.
Mhm.
I know he didn't write the script, but that's a very good
The plot line was Paul
Human
Cornell.
Nature family. But the plot line was Paul Cornell.
No, it's
So-
Time Worm Revelation. There you go.
Yeah, no, I've got the book.
Okay.
I know it's time.
God,
Worm.
I'm actually feeling less geeky on this.
What,
um,
the Virgin New
the
Adventures?
normal.
Yeah.
The normal.
It came
I
out
don't have
30
any
years
Virgin
ago
New Adventures.
yesterday.
Was that?
It came out 30 years ago yesterday. Paul Cornell posted a wee picture of himself with Time Worm Revelation. But it's a good way to do an arc. It wasn't overly destructive.
It was.
Which is
And
not
then
what
they
you
started doing standalone adventures after that one. That was the thing. But that's where Benny comes. That's where Benny Summerfield comes from, is the New Adventures, Virgin New Adventures. So
Yeah. But like I say, they have little 3-book arcs sometimes like that, like Time Worm and Cat's Cradle.
mhm.
Cat's Cradle not so much, but Time Worm I quite enjoyed as just an arcing thread. And you could just do an arcing thread story quite well if you cut back and just do set adventures. Because that was the best stuff about Flux, was
Mhm.
we had the Centauran episode, we had the Weeping Angel
Yeah.
episode. We remember those ones, and threaded through was a wee bit of Flux. But that's the best way to do it, I think, and I think Russell T Davies would take that on board.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do some sort of Big Finish / Virgin New Adventures chat where you two can kind of geek out.
He probably
on
knows
that.
more about Virgin than I probably know quite a bit about Big Finish, or vice
Yeah.
versa.
I know a bit about I knew do some Big Finish,
Mhm.
but not a huge amount.
I'm more of the Virgin novel books.
I'm
Yeah.
3/4 of the way through the monthly adventures of Big Finish, so I'm getting there. So I do know quite a
The
bit. of
problem,
Big Finish.
the problem with Big Finish is just keeping up
There's
with
so much.
everything. There's so much.
Exactly.
yeah.
At least I've only got 60 odd books for this. That's all I have. That's all I need.
Yeah, that's true. They take a while to read, though.
I don't have.
They don't have. Anyway, we're meandering just a little bit off topic from Doctor Who Flux, but thank you guys for joining in once more. So that's it for here. Leave a comment down below. Tell us what you think of the last 2 episodes. Have we gone off a tangent too much? Is there anything we've missed? Is there anything Sean could have had an opportunity to go and say in the conversation? We don't know, but I do feel sorry for you, mate. I'm sorry. We get into it. That's it.
Yeah.
You get 2 Glasgow people talking about things. It's getting an word in edgeways can be a bit
Aye.
tricky.
And I'm just a quiet person in general. I just like listening to people talk. And then
Yeah,
I forget to add my bit and I'm like, oh wait.
Yeah, that's why I kept saying, and Sean, what do you want to say? Just to help out. But thank you guys, everybody. It's been enjoyable having conversations over the past few weeks. We will do this again a new year at some point. But if you like this video, don't forget to like it. You can share it. It will be available on Facebook and on YouTube, of course. And if you hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell, you know when a new video comes out with us. But until next time, thanks guys for watching, and yeah, we'll see you later.